welcome to Find Another Zero podcast with Jackman, producer extraordinaire. Hello, Jack.
That's right.
Hello. Bart and Jack, owner, CEO, Project Power Gym. We are here, another episode, in order to help improve our lives. The whole idea here is we have honest conversations about honest things, a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of mindset, a lot of philosophy. Basically, the idea is there's a lot of surface level ideas and a lot of surface level fucking information out there. And so what we do is we break it apart, try to go deeper and get to the honest truth about it all. So that when you are actually experiencing it and you're experiencing it from the actual inside, you can be a little bit more familiar with what it feels like, sounds like, tastes like. Because when you're on the outside listening or hearing about it, you have a certain perception of what it's like. You have a perception of what it should feel like, or perception of how hard it is. Mm-hmm. But when you have actual people in it saying actual in it descriptions, it becomes a lot more, relatable and a lot more honest. And I think that's been the powerhouse of this episodes of this show. Is during the episodes, I think everyone that says nice things to me about the show, they all say that they have such a relatable aspect to something that we say, and it like opens up their abilities to grasp it a little bit better. But also, more than anything, it helps people feel not alone in their journey when everyone thinks that their journey is so unique. But what's funny is because what makes us all the same is that we all have like differences, but by our having differences, we're all the same. And so being able to like break that open is pretty cool. So, well, how are you, bro?
Good, doing solid today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Last week was
wild. Last week was
you had a bad day last time we were filming. You had a bad
Yeah.
day. You were late.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling organized. I'm feeling like, okay, this is all cool. Got to get the taxes figured out and all that stuff. That's kind of what's been weighing over my shoulders lately. But
well, the good news is it's your first year in business. So, in terms of taxes, you're allowed to claim a fucking loss, for X amount of years when a business opens. So, I'm not saying it shouldn't be detailed, but what I'm saying is like, don't feel bad that you don't make any money on paper. Because as an entrepreneur, that's kind of the tactic. That's the two tactics that you have. If you're not going to be a borrower of money, right? If you don't need to show income in order to borrow money from banks, well, then the game is, how can you show that your business doesn't make any money by showing how much money you spend on making the business money? Does that make sense?
75% makes sense. Yep.
Okay, so like
anything that paying employees or buying equipment, and also so
the amount of things that you do to make your business better is far past what you assume you're allowed to say you do to make your business better. So let's say if we had Spotify playing in the background right now, you'd be able to write off your Spotify account as a business expense.
Gotcha.
Okay, you're wearing those clothes. That's your uniform for work. So you can write off all of those clothes, the purchase of those clothes, towards a business expense. If you brought me snacks today, you're buying entertainment for your guests. You can write that off. So your groceries, your articles of clothing, the miles you drove to get here, all these things you're doing to make your business grow. And so the reach that our tax system has is in the favor of letting small businesses write a lot of things off in order to grow their business. Now, it's increasingly becoming more and more difficult because our government right now is kind of anti-small business. But I have learned that taxes are not something that you should fear, but instead it's just another one of those playwrights that you need to just learn the script and follow the script, and you will be all right. Because I used to be fucking terrified of taxes. But through a lot of education and a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, especially people who have been in business for a long time or have had, nothing to something's businesses, they all, these things all kind of work into your favor, especially like with the tax bracketology, to the point where depending on what your income is, you don't necessarily want to show X amount of income. So there are moments in time where like your accountant will tell you have to spend money, because let's say like let's say with what your, net income and gross income and all this stuff is, let's say you're going to have to pay 20 grand in taxes. Well, your accountant will tell you to spend 19 grand on your business because 20 grand's leaving your account one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Whether you buy yourself something for the business to make the business better, a business car or something, real estate, whatever. But if you don't do that, you're going to have to give the government the $20,000. So might as well put the $20,000 back into your business and then write it off as a business expense. So that type of shit,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was just a small little thing. I used to be terrified of taxes.
Yeah,
Terrified.
Yeah. I've got a few detailed questions that wouldn't serve this episode, but yeah. So that's
okay.
That's
all
what I
right.
got going. Yeah.
So last time we spoke, bro, we were on that journey where, we spoke many episodes ago. You were saying, I want to market. I want to start, bringing some money to the fire to expand my business. And I urged you not to do that. And I urged you instead to focus on the clients that you have and blow them out of the water so much that other clients see it. And then you gain business through word of mouth and organic, which you actually heeded that advice and you did it that way. Mm-hmm. And then you fucking blew up, right?
Yep.
Like you gained a shit ton of business.
Mm-hmm.
And then last conversation we had and the conversation before that, we talked about how you're almost overwhelmed with too much business. So how is that going?
Yeah. So I think maybe last episode I had mentioned that I have hired on an editor. Yep. I
that
did.
morning.
That morning. Yeah, that's right.
That morning on the way here, you hired another person.
Yeah.
That's in the States because your last guy was in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and he did an okay job, but yeah, I just want to be able to have a relationship with this person and give them some buy-in into what this is that we're building. And
okay, so that's the strategy that we went with. So instead of saying like, here, I just need you to do these things, and you're the employee that does these things, you actually brought them into the vision and everything.
Yeah, well, that's what I want. That's what I'm working on right now, and so I've started that by just being in person with each other and talking about this. But yeah, that's the goal. That's the vision that I have is they're bought in. The podcasts that we're doing are important and worth getting out. And so, and worth reaching a wider audience. And so having them buy into that and realize like, yeah, we're doing something important here.
So how are you building that vision? Like what's your strategy to do that? Right.
Well, part of it, I haven't really even started on it yet, but part of it is just the podcasts that I picked to work with. That's
Thank you for that shout out, by the way. That was very cool. That was the very first shout out on that.
Oh yeah,
that post.
Yeah, for sure.
Of who you're working with.
For sure. Yeah, and so that's to that point. Like the podcast that we pick is going to be one of the biggest factors, if not the biggest factor, in my opinion, of people recognizing like we're not doing any corporate stuff right now. We're not doing anything that just feels soulless. It's each and every one of these is impacting people in a positive way, and like each podcast that we do, we get feedback on that. Like, yeah, this really helped me, or this so and so was really valuable to me, and so that's the first part. And then that's the vision of how to get them on board is developing. Like since he had just hired him on last week, I haven't thought a ton about it, but that's where I'm at.
Well, what's your vision with what you're doing? For yourself, like what are you doing all this for? You said 10 clients now, right? Mm-hmm. One of the clients you record 5 times a week.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like where's this all going?
The whole business as a whole?
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know. I wouldn't answer that. I wouldn't give you an answer. If I gave you an answer, it would be a half-assed like 25% answer, just because I have no idea where this is going. I know that I want to make it as good as fucking possible and, have it grow.
Grow to what?
That remains to be seen.
Okay. So, you have your 10 clients. Like, so what are you doing for your clients? Like, what are you trying to accomplish for them? Mm-hmm. What is that?
Yep. So yeah, for each client, it's growing their audience as much as possible to where, for instance, like we mentioned in the last episode, the police officers podcast, so I guess it's for each podcast, it would be specific. So for that one, it's like the St. Louis City is lacking 600 police officers. So it's like if we get this out and we start growing this and people have a positive image of, you know, who police are, we can start getting more and more people involved in that, and that fixes a big hole that's, you know, in St. Louis City and other cities around the United States. For this one, people that are listening, you know, it's so easy to have a victim mentality, and like the self-labeling really spoke to me when we talked about that. And so people that see that, you know, just those little hits over and over again of like, you know, you don't have to be a victim all the time, right? So it's specific to each podcast, I guess I would say.
Well, that's interesting because, you know, I'm asking you about your company and like where it's going and the vision of what you're building. And your answer, instead of saying something about your company, was the clients that you have all have goals and you're just trying to accomplish all of their goals.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, like if you feel like if you accomplish the goals of your clients, your goals in turn will be accomplished.
Yeah, 100%.
And so the next iteration of that is like, what are your goals you're trying to accomplish? Because like, let's say you blow mine up to 2 million views, right? And we become a lot more financially successful because of it, right? Well, then how does that impact you as your brand and your company?
I mean, it looks great for my company.
Okay, to do what?
To be able to grow podcasts and grow people's companies and get people money. Like,
do you want more than 10 clients?
Sure.
Okay, so what would be required for you to be able to handle more than 10 clients?
I'd have to implement really get systems implemented into my business and make it really organized as far as, you know, everyone's communicating with everyone and all these systems are communicating with these other systems. For instance, CRM is like a common example of that. And then I would need to hire on more people that understand exactly what I'm looking for and understand exactly what I did to grow the first podcasts that I worked with.
Okay, so company expansion.
Yep,
You're trying to
100%,
literally physically grow more employees in your business.
Yep.
Okay. Because like that type of, like these questions, bro, like if you're going to have humans following you, I relate to what you're saying right now because that's exactly what I said when I first started doing anything is I go, I don't know what I'm building, but I'm building. It's like sitting in front of a Lego box and you just dumped over the bin and there's a shit ton of pieces and you start putting shit on together and someone's like, oh, what are you building? You're like, oh, I don't fucking know. I'm just putting pieces on top of pieces. So that's all in good because in your hands, the pieces, you're manipulating them as it seems fit at the time. But if you're going to have 4 people watching you and then watching is fine, but the moment you say, hey, you guys need to grab some pieces and help me put this together, they need to know what the fuck they're building. Otherwise, their confidence on putting a piece in place is so low that they're apprehensive. Because the reality of it is you'll give them pieces to put onto your little platform that you're building. And since you don't tell them what you're trying to build, they'll put a piece somewhere and then you'll be like, I don't really like that piece there. And you'll take it off and put it somewhere else. And you won't be able to explain to them why. You can't say that piece doesn't go there because you also can't say what it is that the fuck that you're trying to create. You just feel like that doesn't look good there.
Do they need to know what? Well, I guess to push back on that.
Go ahead.
They know that what we're trying to create is, they know what, for our clients for sure what we're trying to create for them.
Yeah.
Do they need to know what I'm trying to create?
Yeah, because what is it in it for them?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, we're building a business and they're going to get paid more, but you know, the more existential answer would be like, look at these people that we're working with and look how we're impacting them and look at what the impact that they're having on the world.
If you're the one in the center of it and you know you love podcasting enough to quit your career and take the chance and do it all yourself, that's more than enough for you. But if you've been approached by somebody, this is a job for them. As much as you want them to be the entrepreneur that you are, they're not. They were hired by you. And unless they're in the mentality of building as well, for example, what that would look like is if they wanted to sit down with you and have meetings about what it is that we're doing, like what are we building, then that person has an entrepreneur mindset to the point where they also don't need the vision because they have their own. But if they don't have their own vision and you're not painting a vision for them and you're just saying, let's solve these people's problems and our problems will all be solved, people lack the ability to connect those two things together. They have a very hard time seeing how an arbitrary gym podcast, right? Because I get it. It's easy. Hey, if our clients are more successful, we can charge them more and then you'll earn more money, right? Are you doing this for money necessarily?
To a certain extent, yeah. 100%.
Yes, you are.
I would be lying if I said not.
Of course,
Yeah.
every business is there to earn money,
Yeah.
right? But there's also a purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can marry purpose and money together, then you have a very confident, motivated, ambitious person with you. But instead, if you go, hey, if you do this job well, you'll get this much money, you will always lose the battle of money. As an entrepreneur who is starting out, you'll never be able to pay as much as an established corporate business doing the exact same fucking thing. I am a small gym in the world of gyms, and my people do not get paid. We talked about this last time. They don't get paid as much as a corporate person in the same position would be, right? So you have to compensate with, we are building something much bigger than that corporate structure, and you're above that position that's right now comparable. I call you the operations manager because that's technically what you're doing here. But if you were going to look vertically to another corporation that's already established the 400 gyms, you look at the vice president. You're the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to call you the operations manager because right now you're doing the operations. But if they don't have the vision of what that is, then all they see is the money they're making and the position that they're at. And that gets really dark really fucking quick. So if you're not connecting the dots of where this is going, I understand that you don't know where it's going. I understand that by the time you get there, it might look completely different than it is now. But you have to commit and say, this is at least for the time being what I'm trying to accomplish. And it can only become better than this. It can never be worse than what I'm explaining to you right now. If this changes, if this vision changes, it only changes bigger. But it can't get worse than what I'm telling you right now. Meaning, I'm never going to actively make it smaller than what I'm trying to make right now. Mm-hmm. And then they have faith that at least I can see what he's thinking. At least I can wrap my head around what it is he's trying to build, because that makes sense to me. It makes sense for me to be vice president. That sounds awesome. I'm not vice president right now, but when we establish ourselves to 50 fucking members, or I'm sorry, 50 employees and 150 clients, I'll be vice president of operations. And this is what will be required of me to do that. And right now, this is required of me to do what I need to do to get myself to that position. Now you've got a hungry fucking employee. Now you've got someone who actually knows that their extra hours and their early mornings and their late nights and the extra stressors and all those things are actually amounting to something. But if you just go, I promise you it'll all work out. Like, bro, I ain't no one trust you that much. I don't care how kind-hearted you are and how pure you are, and there will be moments in time through this process where you're going to have to make hard decisions, and there's going to be moments in time where you're going to have to do stuff that might make people question, because it makes sense to you to take a step backwards, or it makes sense to you to fire this client. It makes sense to you to spend that money. But if that fucking employee understanding why it is that you're doing what you're doing, all you're going to get is backlash and questioning. And what's funny, and this is actually so funny that we're getting onto this step right here, because what I wanted to talk about is the speculations of people when they don't know the truth. And we keep trying to earn the benefit of the doubt by those around us because of our actions and our character and our belief and our intent. You know, we in our minds go, there's no way people could assume ill intent from me because all I showcase is positive shit. But now explain this. When that employee is having a hard time paying his bills, when that employee has been sitting very, very loyally. Is that a word? That sounds weird. If that employee's been loyal to the cause and has spent early mornings and late nights and is having trouble paying bills, and it just keeps being reiterated, hey, listen, it'll all work out. It'll all work out. It'll all work out. And then he sees you spend money on new cameras when he thinks the cameras we were using were fine. When he sees you taking lunch dates with potential clients and it's just you hanging out eating fucking steaks and stuff, right? If he doesn't see the connection of him and what you're doing to where you guys are going, it's just human fucking nature to create narratives in your mind, to speculate. And almost always people speculate in a self-conserving way. They have to protect themselves from potential future disaster. So if they don't agree with the fact that you just bought new cameras and they don't fucking see why you're taking dinner dates and they're up until 2 a.m. editing and they don't understand, they're going to start speculating that maybe they're doing something wrong. Maybe they shouldn't be putting that much effort in. Maybe they're being taken advantage of. Maybe this isn't really going anywhere. Maybe since he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know where he's going, maybe this is all that's ever going to be. So I agree with you. I know you don't know where this is going. I know you don't know how big it can be, but you do have an idea of what your potential is, and you do have an idea of what you can create at this moment, and you need to paint that shit, even if just for yourself.
And so it's not just painting the vision of where this business is going to be, but it's painting the vision of where I will see X employee, where I'll see you, and where, so that you can envision.
That's almost
yourself.
more important,
right?
That's almost more important. That's almost more important because again, the next step beyond if I'm good at painting the picture of where the business is going, but I never connect how the team member belongs, and I leave it up to them. Well, bro, like you got to think like. People question themselves all the time. People
100%.
doubt themselves all the time. People will fuck up. And if they fuck up, they think the journey's over and they'll never be. So if you're not good at like letting the quarterback know what the quarterback does and how influential the quarterback is and how important the quarterback is, if you don't tell the running back how important running game is, and yes, you're not scoring a lot of touchdowns, but you get us to the position that gets us to score touchdowns. So you're just as valuable as the guy who crosses the goal line. If you don't fucking reiterate that shit, people, they go, I'm out. You fucking never give me the ball on third down in the end zone, but you get the ball on first down and second down every fucking drive. You get 200 yards rushing every fucking game. You are an extremely valuable asset to this team, and the only reason we get these touchdowns is because you get us into positions to score. So even though you, Jack, get the actual client to sign on, you have to let your fucking editor know that the reason they gained clients, you give them a high five, you go, your fucking editing was so goddamn immaculate that was the easiest fucking close I've ever had in my life. Thank you, bro. You made my job so much easier because of your sick fucking editing. Because you paid attention to those details. Because you made sure that the mouths and the fucking voice were on pay. Like, you have to connect the wins to what they've done. Mm-hmm. And again, and then the second part of that is you have to connect future wins to what they're doing now. And then there's you have a team. You have a team all doing things independently for the same cause. And don't be afraid that if you commit to saying like, this is where I'm going, this is where we're going, this is what I want to build, that is going to change, no doubt. But every single time something happens that you said was going to happen, they just build that much more faith and trust. Mm-hmm. And eventually there is no more speculating. Eventually there is no more questioning or doubting. Whatever you say fucking goes, bro. But that requires some balls on your part to be able to finite say that shit and mean it.
Yeah. So maybe I didn't give you a completely honest answer in the sense of like, I'm missing out on the piece of like, I know exactly where I want this company to be, but I think I've done an okay job of telling the people that are working for me. Like, so for instance, I've got my buddy who I'm going to have start doing the actual production. And
meaning like instead of you setting up all this, like it'll be another guy.
Right. which I recognize some of the challenges that comes with, and some of the. So but we can talk on that in a second. But I think I've done a good job of like being like, hey, listen, like this is, I don't see you just setting cameras up. Eventually, I need you managing people and you know, and now, you know, running things and so on and so forth. So,
but that part of like scale is really important for people to know, because that scale is like, without size, people can't get bigger chunks of anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you don't reiterate the size of what we're doing or where we're going, then their piece of the pie just seems small, and no one wants to risk anything for small pieces of pie. You know, so that's kind of the other side of this thing, is like the honesty that a person in a building business position has to have. Because if I'm not interested in building 17 gyms, right? If I'm truly not really trying to like, you know, involve myself that much, well then I can't tell my fucking people that like grand giant things are coming.
Right.
If I'm gonna be okay with making $100,000 a month, you know, as a business, I have to be honest with the fucking employees and say like, yeah, you know, like this will be a phenomenal way to earn some extra income on the side. And I have to then structure my employee concept as side business people or, you know, second job people. I can't expect them to be all the way bought in day and night, everything you've got all the fucking time, if I'm not trying to make it that big so that it pays off for them. Then I have to triple my employee staff and hire only part-time people and not expect all-in members on the team. I have to expect 5 people to do one person's job because they're all part-timers and none of them are all the way bought in, and I have to be okay with turnover, and I have to be okay with people coming and going. I have to be okay with people calling in and saying their real job needs them instead. Like, you have to be honest, and your business will succeed. You'll be able to make $100,000 a month. You know, you won't have to build 15 times what you're doing now, but you'll have to run it in a way that's honest with what your vision for the business is. Mm-hmm. Right? Which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it requires honesty. Both can be done. You can make, you know, millions of dollars as a business owner running a business where only part-time people are employed, which again, your culture is going to be a different type of culture, but it's possible and it's a successful model. It can work. You know, it's just, there's a lot of fantasy. There's a lot of romanticism about the first way, about the, you know, you're putting up cameras and then one day you'll be vice president. You know, there's a lot of romanticism in that, and that's a very easy thing for people to buy into. That's also why there's so much negative animosity toward corporations, is because that sell is so easy to employees that so many people buy into that, and then the fucking corporation never follows through. You know, they never actually make VP. They're 15 years and they're one level higher than they used to be. You know, that's where people get jaded with companies that promise giant things. Mm-hmm. So it's not about promising one day you'll be VP. It's just saying like your late night session editing turns into people joining, turns into us getting more employees, turns into now there will be 4 heads and each department will have sports podcast, this podcast, that type of podcast. And like, this is the structure that it'll end up being, you know? And you'll get so much more out of your people because you guys will all be rowing the boat together.
Right.
You know, and I'm only telling you that way because when I first started, dude, I literally hired Connor and I said, I don't know what you're going to be doing here. I said, you're a great fucking person. You're awesome. I think if I'm having a team, I'd like you on the team. And I was never, I had nothing to show her. I had no, I didn't tell her we're going to have this many gyms and I want you to run this. And I had none of that. I just said, I really want you on the team. Let's just find something for you to do, you know? And she's awesome, but that's not that's not a great strategy from a leader's point, because she's never going to sink her teeth into anything because I'm literally telling her I don't know what the fuck it's going to amount to. Like, that's not fair towards them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not,
Has your messaging to her changed since then?
Yeah, absolutely. I've listen. It's hard as a person who runs a business from scratch. I think it's almost difficult to commit. I think there's like a commitment issue that entrepreneurs tend to have because your mind is so vast and your potential and your ambition and your ability to build is so vast that you hate cementing yourself to just one thing because you're like, well, I can build anything. Yes, but the only way to build anything is to build something. And to build something, you can only build one thing. Right. So fucking decide what it is and build it. And then build the next thing. And then build the next thing. And then build the next thing. But if you sit there with a whole chunk of fucking wood and say, I can build whatever I want. And I come back tomorrow, I'm like, so what did you build? And you're like, nothing. I haven't decided what I'm building yet. I'm just cutting stuff. And, well, you ruined all your wood, bro. You cut it into pieces and you had no idea why. And now you need a long piece and you don't have it because, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You got to decide what you're doing and then do it. And then along the way, as you're doing it, you can decide to change it. But you got to do something. You got to decide. You got to commit to a vision, at least at first. You know, and then the only thing that happens is you sharpen that vision along the way. Things come into play. Things come through. You actualize ideas. You become based in reality versus fantasy. And every time you showcase in person something you've thought up, that connection just becomes stronger and stronger and stronger with the team until eventually they don't question their own path. They don't question, because dude, outside your business, everyone is talking shit on your business. Not actively, not like in a ill intent way, but bro, everybody talks shit on anybody that destructures their vocation. If you have a career or if you have a degree or if you have something, like go put it into play where it's safe for you to do so. So anybody that's connected to something that's not rigid, everybody else is like, okay, we'll see. Even in passing, they don't even know they're doing it, but it's like, it's not safe. What we're doing isn't safe.
It feels like it's not. To a lot of people, it feels like it's. But to me, it feels like it's safer than anything I've ever done in my life.
Of course, because you're in control.
Yeah.
But you're the only one.
Yeah.
You understand? You're in control of them, dude. You're in control of you. And then you want to tell them they're in control of them, but they're not. You're in control of them. You're in control where the boat's going. You're in control of what they get from their effort. Because who pays their fucking paycheck? You do. Now, they earn more money into the pot, but you decide how much of that pot goes into their pocket. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it all flows through you. So, like, there won't be another you in your company. If there literally can't be. You can split yourself in half and do partnerships and stuff like that, but, like, you just, but that's what we look for. That's what we want. We want a bunch of us's.
Yeah.
But that would be a disaster. An absolute disaster. Because you'd be focused on trying to create something, and then the other person halfway through that goes, actually, I got a better idea. Not tell anybody. Start building something completely the other direction. And even show you results with it, and you're like, that doesn't fucking fit with what we're doing. Well, I think doing it this way is better. Or I think doing this will be a more logical. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you have to have one chef in the kitchen to tell everybody what plates are on dinner tonight. And then everyone else goes and fucking makes the plates. But one guy decides the plates. One guy.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one guy, you're going towards disaster.
If you don't have one guy leading the vision.
Yeah. I mean, it could be partnership. It could be 4 people. But like one entity needs to dictate to the rest of the entities what's for dinner.
Do you when you see yourself expanding this gym, how do you see that working out? What's the structure of that look like?
Well, so again, that's the part. Like, okay, yes, we're going to build multiple gyms, but along the way, I actually have an opportunity. I was reached out to by another gym, and they would like to have a conversation about potentially becoming a Project Power, right? So again, when you set forth in your limited understanding and experience, you think, oh, I'm going to open 30 gyms. Well, what does that sound like in your mind when you first think it? Well, I'm going to go around and I'm going to lease 30 places and I'm going to build 30 gyms, right? That's what you think. But you can expand many different ways. You can take over other gyms. You can buy other gyms. You can have other gyms be affiliated with you and maybe not be called Project Power, but use our systems and our structures. And, you know, we could systematize our entire process and just sell that. And it could be, who knows, it could be Power Fitness USA powered by Project Power, right? So like we could systematize and not even have to physically expand anything. But that you don't learn that until you start getting into the nitty gritty. But we are going to be around the world. Like that's what I do know. How we get there, it will be different potentially than what my vision is. But at first, baseline, step one, rudimentary thoughts are, I buy buildings and I put gyms inside of them and I call them Project Power. And that's my first commitment to the vision of what I paint to my staff. And then these opportunities come up and go, hey, staff, there's actually a way of doing this that I didn't think about. Check this cool opportunity I just got. We don't even have to spend the money to buy the gym. We don't have to spend the money to put the fucking equipment in there. We don't have to spend the money to do this. There's this place who wants us to take them over. Well, that's a pretty cool fucking thing. I'm going to look into it, guys. You keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to look into that. So then they're away doing their fucking training, doing the front desk, understanding that like I'm doing what I told everybody that we're going to do. It's just looking different than I said it might look. But they still know that we're on pace, we're on task, and we're got the right direction, that we're going towards where I said we're going. And it's almost as exciting for them as it is for me, because they go, well, obviously, if we don't have to spend money to do it, well, then that's a lot more lucrative, which means more money in our pockets. You know what I'm saying? So, again, it might be different than what we fucking just talked about, but it's not different than the vision I painted. We still end with multiple Project Powers around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows if they even call them Project Powers, bro. There's so, like, yeah, the thing that I asked you long time ago was like the essence of your brand. Like what is it that you do as a company, really? Because you look at the gym and you go, oh, Bart, you're a gym. I go, I am, but I'm also not. Obviously, this is where you go work out with weight equipment. But what we are is a place of high standards, a place of respect, and a place of community, right? People come here, they look after the equipment. Everyone cleans up after themselves. Therefore, all the members in here all care about the same thing, which makes it mutual respect, right? Because I see you cleaning up something that I clean up, which means we both respect the same thing, which means we respect each other. And now you and I are in a community together and have mutual respect without even knowing each other's name. That's what I have to transfer to the next position, the next spot.
Right.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Cool. So if it's called Project Power or fucking, Powerhouse USA or anything else, if I transfer that, then it's still what people are wanting. They don't want the name or the colors.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So again, when I say we're putting Project Powers all over the country, but they end up being called 77 different names, did I lie or did I decommit to my vision? No. We still have spread ourselves around. We still have spread what we are to the country. But I didn't say exactly it's going to be called this and we're going to pay this and we're going to do it this way. I said these are my ideas of how to get that done. That's going to get done. These are my ideas of how that's going to get done. And then along the way you go, oh, fuck, I have a better idea of how to get that done. But that getting done part doesn't change. And that has to be solid so that for your team to fucking give a shit. So you got to have an answer. And if you don't have one, like, bring out the board and start painting, bro. Even for yourself. Because, like, if you have a target, I mean, it's weird to say, but, like, I'm not a goal setter. Like, I'm not one to, like, have, I'm working with this with Matt Granados right now. Like, I do a journal now every single Sunday to start putting shit on paper with my to-dos and making my to-dos more specific and blah, blah, blah. So he's helping me with that. But, like, when you have a target, dude, you pull so much harder towards your target. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you say by this Friday, I want to have made this much money. Like, I need $5,000 this week. Like, you're going to become more creative in what it is that you do, and you're going to find so many more opportunities that may have been overlooked because you have a very clear-cut thing you're trying to do by Friday. But if you just say, I'm just going to get as much money as I can by Friday, you have no idea what number,
Right.
when to stop pushing, when to slow down. Oh, I'm not going to slow down. Yeah, you are. It's human nature. You got to eat. You got to sleep. You got to do this, that, and the other thing. You don't know what to sacrifice and how much of it to sacrifice if you don't have something clear that you're trying to aspire to. Because it will require sacrifice. If you try to accomplish something with no sacrifice, you have left so much on the fucking table you might as well have not have tried. And that goes with relationships and fucking everything else. So, yeah. And again, that's just a conversation I had to have with myself because I gave the exact same answer you gave to a lot of people. Well, what are you trying to do? I don't know, man, but it's going to be big. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be huge. All I got to do is take care of every member. If I take care of every member, then the most I can have, I will have. That's not true. That's not how that works.
I'm doing a lot of thinking right now.
I know. It's heavy. It's big.
I don't.
There's a lot of analogies, man. Think of like all the grass between here and your house. Just grass, like weird fucking analogy. But let's say you were to mow the grass. And you just said, I'm going to mow as good as I can possibly mow. Well, how far will you get between here and your house? It's far. You live far. Well, how much of that grass could you get cut in one day? Well, I'm going to cut as much grass as I can. Okay, but if you say, I have to get all the grass cut between here and my house, well, your pace, your speed at which you're going to cut is going to increase. You're going to push yourself a little bit past that hunger state. You're going to push yourself a little bit past that dusk. Otherwise, you're like, oh, I cut as much grass as I could today. You could have cut probably half an acre more, you know. But that's because you didn't have a goal set of how much grass you wanted to get cut today. And I was that guy, dude. I was that guy. I was the guy that said, no one can push me further than I can push myself. No one can give me bigger goals than I can give for myself. So as long as I give my full effort to everything that I'm doing, I'll have everything there is to have. And that is the most bullshit thing ever, because if that were true, then none of my workout plans would have reps on them. None of my workout plans will tell you how many reps you should do of whatever exercise. Because by that logic, it should be lift this as many times as you can. But that's not how that works, because I'll put the number 8 on the paper. Why? Because at 6, I feel like that's all I fucking got. But because it says 8 on the fucking paper, I somehow, out of my ass, pull out 2 more reps.
Right.
No one's going to pull 2 extra reps out unless you put an 8 on the paper.
Yep. No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you before we wrap up. So in talking about the image or the brand, what was the exact word you said? The brand of the brand of your business, but like what does your
the
essence of your business. So when I think about bringing on new people now, let's say, because now that I have an editor, I have the room to bring on a few more clients. So when I think about the essence of my business, and when we talk about purpose-driven podcasts and ones that are important, but let's we're in the beginning of the business. I'm trying to grow this thing. I'm figuring it out, and I've got a podcast that talks about insurance. Let's say that a potential prospect where they want to start a podcast on about insurance. I'm like, well, I don't want to post-rationalize and like find out a way to make this feel meaningful. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's just not meaningful to me. But it would be good business. It would be a solid client. At this stage in the game, would you recommend taking that client on still? Or
that's so funny. Okay, so let me reframe this for you, because when someone comes into this gym and their goal is to get a 6-pack so they can have one-night stands.
Yeah.
Right? Because of whatever reason, like they're not confident in their body and they've never had a one-night stand and they just want to fuck a lot of chicks. Okay? Do I necessarily agree or find a lot of purpose in that? No. Is that a lifestyle that I like to lead? No. Do I relate to that? No, I don't. So should I not help that guy? Is like what's my passion here in this building? What is my purpose? What is my help? What is my essence? It's to solve people's problems. Right? So if that person is truly trying to get better in whatever capacity they're trying to get better, it is my passion to give him an environment that he's able to work on himself to the point where he solves his problem. Now, to my employees, do I need to explain to them that they still need to care about Jeff or Carl or whoever the fuck this guy is, even though they may not agree with his lifestyle? No. No, because the member is given the environment and the atmosphere and the essence to solve their own problem in my space. So how do I get purpose behind my employees? I give them the freedom to execute what it is they need to do in order to help the environment, to help Carl achieve their goal. Because the insurance podcast, right? You don't have to know anything about insurance to give the insurance podcast a good podcast.
Certainly.
Right? Your editor has nothing to do with the fucking podcast or the insurance guy. What does your editor have to do? He has to edit the living fuck out of the footage. Right? So what you're giving your employees isn't an insurance podcast. You're giving your employees an atmosphere that they are completely free to go 100% deep into however editing they need to edit to their best degree to produce an awesome product with their name on it. Does that make sense? Like a lot of other businesses, a lot of other corporations don't give their employees, I want to use the word freedom, but it's not freedom. It's
space to...
They don't give them the opportunity to showcase themselves. What they're given is a set task list, as a robot would, and you're allowed to only live inside those parameters and just execute these two things the way I fucking told you to, and do nothing extra, give no personality, don't, you know what I mean? Just do these things. Just set the fucking camera up like this. That's it. Something a fucking robot could do. And especially in the IT world, that's genuinely how that's done. So what you're giving your employees is that ability to pour love and passion into what they do.
Well, I guess that's where I feel like this is a unique situation, and it's like my producer is going to be actually sitting down and listening to these conversations. And so if I've given him 10 podcasts to work on where he's listening to conversations that he doesn't give a shit about versus podcasts like this and podcasts like the police podcast where he's like, oh my God, I'm so engaged and this is amazing. Like that, to me, that seems like it's going to foster such a stronger,
I think
so much
that's
stronger
almost a
of an environment.
narcissistic, selfish way of looking at it, personally. Because if you're valuing the podcast based off of your interest in it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's bullshit. You'll never be able to help a wide range of people if you entrench your interest and entertainment into what their problem is.
But I guess if my editor and my producer are all of them that are involved are like excited as fuck to work on what they're working on that day, that's going to be dependent on that's certainly going to be dependent on which podcast they're working on.
I don't see it that way. What I see it as is everybody has a problem, and you get to help solve their problem. And solving their problem is the passion. If a fucking insurance podcast that theoretically to the producer is boring is besides the point. That is not involved in the equation. The equation is what's your company's name?
Noble Lore.
Noble Lore's passion is solving people's problems. And the people who come to you with their problems are marketing. They have a marketing problem. So if you can get the insurance fucking company's numbers up, you have solved their problem. Does that make sense?
It makes okay, but but maybe I'd like to take a more extreme example because I'm not. I'm struggling with this one, but a more extreme example. My editor is a hardcore conservative, let's say, and now we're doing a podcast teaching kids about being transgenders.
Well, you wouldn't take that job.
Right, that's what I mean. So so where's the line drawn in that?
Well, you got to have some boundaries as a business from a character. Like you, what's the God, tip of my tongue? The core values of your company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those aren't muddied based off of finances or wanting to grow or like. There's hard lines that your company stands for.
Right.
Okay. Being bored because someone's talking about insurance or being excited because someone's talking about philosophy should never come into the equation of this insurance company came to us with a problem and I am here to be able, like, my passion is to be able to solve, like for me, this is just how I'm wired now at 36, is if I'm disinterested in what you're saying, the way that I can get this company's fucking, like I'm more valuable now to this insurance company than I am, let's say, to Bart. Because let's say Bart's entertaining and Bart's subject matter is something that's very easily understood and people get excited about it. You are more valuable to the insurance company than you are to Bart because Bart could just make a video of himself talking and maybe he'd get a lot more feedback than if the insurance guy just made himself talking. So if I'm passionate about solving company's problems with marketing and this insurance company comes to me and I'm bored as fuck listening to this, I assure you everyone else is bored as fuck listening to this too. So now I am able to now fully express my passion of trying to help people because this dude needs my help way more than Bart does. So now I can get even more excited about trying to figure out how to make something boring exciting, how to make something not relatable.
Definitely, I get excited about that for
okay.
sure. Yeah.
And that's what you pour into your employees. That's the vision. That's the thing that you tell them that's why we're so valuable. If someone, like, listen, I have a whole team of personal trainers. Let me ask you who you would prefer to train. Would you prefer to train a guy who loves waking up at 5 a.m., stays on a strict diet, already has a fucking six-pack, and is disciplined as shit? Or would you like to train the person who absolutely can't stand exercising, cannot wake up to their alarm clock to save their lives? If they don't drink every day, they fucking spaz out. Who needs more of your help? Who are you more valuable to? Who are you actually impacting their life more? Whose life are you making more of a difference? And if your passion is to help people, in the end, who are you helping more? So let's be fucking honest. Right? Those that need you help the most are the ones you least want to fucking work with. In the end, making them the most you want to work with. The You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Like you can see like there's so much more opportunity for progress.
Absolutely. You mean you're so much more meaningful to that person. I mean, you can go even further, bro. You can go even further as treating your employees like inside customers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like you want everyone to be an entrepreneur mindset and you want to be completely hands off and you want them to be self-motivated, ambitious, creative, and hardworking.
Yep.
Okay. How valuable is your company to that person? Not valuable at all because they can fucking start their own company. But if you take someone who's way off course, hella talented, but extremely off course, terrible mindset, very bad decision-making capabilities, very bad habits, and your passion and your company help educate them of how to lead a better life and how to approach these things in a much more disciplined manner and how to express their passion for what they're doing more eloquently, and they become successful and they start earning money and they start becoming more positive results for their efforts. They're going to buy in forever. You saved their fucking life. So don't wish for easy employees. Don't wish for fucking easy customers. Like, don't. Like, you matter more to the difficult ones. Again, within your core values. I'm not saying if someone disrespects your company as a client and, bails on you 24/7 and blah, 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 blah. But always remember, always remember, the hard ones are hard for everybody. The tough customers are tough for everyone. Someone's going to win their fucking business, and someone can change their tone, right? I used to tell this to my employees at S2 all the time. I go, that dickhead is loud, and that dickhead will be loud for the good guys too. You know what I mean? And that dickhead has friends. So be the dickhead's friend and figure out a way. Because as loud as he is about being a dickhead, he'll be that much of a fan. And sure enough, almost all of like the crazy fanatical people that loved what we did, almost all exclusively were dickheads when they first came in the fucking store. Because everybody else bails. They go, fuck that guy. I agree with you. Fuck him. In that state, fuck that guy. But you got an option. You can let someone else fucking figure it out, or you can try to figure it out. If you figure it out, you win. You get the reward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, same thing if you're playing a football game and the refs are shit and you're behind 2 scores and like everything you seem to do, the refs, like, listen, there's a way. You can either decide to lose this game now in the second quarter and just get hit for no fucking reason, or you can say, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out a way to win this game. It might have to be different than what I'm used to doing. It might have to be, I might have to learn a whole new lesson, but there's a way to win this game. And I'm not, until that fucking clock starts 0, I'm going to try to figure out how. So, I think as a business owner, that's extremely important to find the essence of your business, because again, like if my essence of my business was like, I only train people with 6-packs, like, okay, but do they need your help as much as the rest? And that will prevent you from picking and choosing so much that you allow your employees, because dude, that's a never ending like slope, dude. If you say, hey, I'm sorry, the insurance guy isn't that, exciting, and then like you give in to the employees having the right to choose who they help, like that's a slippery slope, bro, because how exciting then, like how does that bar not move on you? How exciting now is exciting enough? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good question.
And dude, in the beginning, maybe it's just a progressive thing as a business, but in the beginning you say yes to everyone. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you dwindle that down to the people you want to work with, and you start saying no to the ones you don't want to work with. And, there needs to be a base structure of who fits and who doesn't. I agree. I'm not saying that like, you should waste your time on shit that is just meant, like it's not built properly in the first place. But I wouldn't allow your team to think that your passion is anything other than solving people's problems. And you can be passionate about anybody as long as they have a problem. And then your execution will be clear across the board.
A lot to think about.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's I'm thinking about the clients I have right now. I'm thinking about,
like, how would you make an insurance podcast exciting enough for people to want to listen to it?
yeah, I would figure out the most I'd figure out like the most entertaining cases of freak insurance accidents or whatever, and then bring those up, and then I would have the insurance agents apply the lesson there of, what can you take from this, and then moving forward. And I'm very cynical about insurance in general, so if they could change my perspective, that would be super engaging.
That's the thing, is like being okay with stereotyping and then talking about the stereotypes and then getting the truth of the stereotypes, because some of the stereotypes are stereotypes because they're fucking based on truth. Okay, so let's figure out what truth and how much of the truth is there, and then let's figure out what isn't true and the reality of the stereotype. And through that process, you'll pop a lot of people's bubbles and miss. Mm-hmm. I hate insurance.
Yeah.
I personally fucking can't stand it. I think it's a giant racket, because my personal experience with insurance has all been negative.
Yep.
Heinous negative. You know? So I don't know much about insurance because anytime the topic comes up, I have a negative thought and I don't want anything to do with it. What I don't want is I don't want someone to preach to me how I need it or how I should have it, but instead explain the innards of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Explain, because again, when we speculate for self-preservation. So I am assuming that they're just a bunch of money-hungry motherfuckers that just figure out ways to grab money and not give any out, right? I especially from like a business standpoint, bro, I was blown away. I got audited at the end of the year, and they said that I made more money than I thought I would make, and thus they made me pay $2,000 extra at the end of the year. I'm like, what? And isn't insurance? This is a whole off topic. We're gonna ruin the episode, but like, isn't insurance there to help in case something bad happens?
Right.
By my choice.
Right.
By my choice to protect myself. But instead you force me to have it in case someone does something to protect myself. You can't force me to protect myself, man. Like I choose how much coverage I want.
100%.
I choose it.
100%.
And if I didn't buy enough, then I take the responsibility and pay the lawsuit out of my pocket.
Yep.
You can't force me to pay you money and protect myself. Like, what the fuck? Doesn't make any sense. That's like me buying a catcher gear for baseball, but not the helmet, and then play a whole season. And then at the end of the season, the fucking make me buy a helmet because I wasn't as safe as I could be.
Right. That's ridiculous. It's craziness,
like,
isn't it?
What if I wanted to get hit in the face? Like, what if I didn't mind getting hit in the face with a baseball? No, we can't let you get hit in the face with baseball.
It's absurd.
It is absurd.
It's absurd.
And so I would like your podcast to teach me how I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I would gladly listen to that podcast of how I'm incorrect in my speculation. There you go.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
That's it. And so I think that's what the uphill battle for insurance salesmen is because they're hated.
Yeah. They're fucking hated.
They're
man.
fucking hated.
They're hated.
They're hated. So, but that's, no different than the fitness industry before it got so popular. Is the fitness industry was a stereotype of the fucking, what's that old guy with the curly hair? Richard Simmons. The fucking jumpy, over fucking energized, just happy all the time. Like, that's what the fitness industry was for a really long time. And everyone hated that fucking guy, And then you talked about the reality of it. There is truth. We're motivated. We're disciplined. We do get up when we don't want to. We exercise when we don't feel like it. We eat clean when I don't want to. Like, we do those things. But I'm not happy about it all the fucking time. That's where the disconnect happened. People thought that people who eat clean love eating clean. People who exercise love exercising. No, we don't feel like it probably half the fucking time. But we do it anyway. So there's the relatability. And so then people are like, oh, shit, I too don't feel like doing it. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't. Oh, damn it.
We got you. Well, yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, cool.
All right. Go do something. Don't be a bitch. You gotta figure out these fucking cameras.
Don't
There's
be
no
a
way
pussy.
that you have to keep pressing that shit all the time.
We're working on it.
Yeah? New cameras? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Bye.
Bye.